Oh, it's coffee time. So hello, my name's Rob and this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, or Coffee Time with Rob, if you will. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Trugg, the Trugg King, now available outside of his Trugg herd from the Dawnbringers Crusade. A lovely kit, really cool. Wanted this one as soon as I saw it a while back, but he does have some monstrous problems that we're going to look at in this video. So Trugg, the Troggoth King, he is a big old boy in a big old box, and we're going to take a look at him and some of his problems. As always, like, subscribe, comment below any questions, yada yada yada. I'll do my best to answer them. But I really wanted to get started with this one. I wanted to do a little Troggoth army, a little troll army for ages, and this is a great kit to start with. As you can see, he stands about 6.5 inches tall, so he's a fairly big boy. He's not Sons of Behemoth big. But he is the biggest Troggoth on the table so far. I think he's slightly bigger than the Hag. I'm not so sure. He's got a ton of detail on him. Really cool. Never going to dispute the detail that Games Workshop does. Is always fantastic. And obviously models are subjective. You either like this or you don't. However, if you are here to kind of pique your interest or learn how to do seam lines, this is definitely going to be a video for you. In the box, you get the instructions. He's on 1 sprue, which I was quite surprised about. He's got 9 revision stamps, so you can see this kit was a little bit problematic, and I think I can point out probably where a little bit later on. But nice chunky sprues, and he comes with a 100mm base, so he's on a fairly sizable footprint to lead a Troggoth army. So if we take a look at these sprues themselves, you can see this once again is 1 sprue, 2 half sprues. From what I can see just at the things, obviously the detail is great, always is. He kind of goes together in like 2 halves with the seam line running down his sides, if you will. There are no options for Trugg, which I'm not too, you'd only have 1 of him. However, if you are going to kit bash him, it can make it a little bit difficult. I don't know how well he's going to mismatch with things like a dank hold Troggoth kit. It's been a hot minute since I painted an Age of Sigmar kit, if I'm completely honest with you. But taking a look at the instructions, there's a few things I did want to point out in this, and I've never noticed them before. And once again, it's been a while since I've done this. It's this little symbol down here. It basically tells you to paint before you assemble. So the actual instructions instructs you, to do sub-assemblies. Obviously, I like this little page here where it tells you what you get in the, you've got a clear view of the sprues and the base and stuff like that. And as you can see, he kind of goes together in 2 halves. And then all the other little bits kind of just go like, you'd glue on a foot and an arm and his body, and then like his fist, his forearm, his foot, it's all very like, I want to say well done, because it is and it isn't, and you're going to see what I mean a little bit later in this. But as we kind of flick through the instructions, you can see he's kind of got his big club in the air, and it tells you to kind of put his beard on, which you can do, and then his head goes on without his antlers, and then you kind of move on to the making the back piece, which is, if you've ever played Trivial Pursuit, as you can see just here, it kind of, it's really difficult to describe. It goes together in like little segments, but this is the piece that they actually tell you to paint first, then put on. And this, I think, is where the problem is with this kit as well. Not only, the seam lines, which can be quite difficult. It's this section here, because they tell you to put his head and his beard on, and then put this last. But in actual fact, I would, and the way I've built mine, I built the body, then I put the beard on, then I put the back on, then I put the head on. So I actually worked in 4 sub-assemblies, and it was a lot easier. And then he just goes down, obviously, onto his base. Again, lots of detail. It really is a fantastic looking kit. I think the designers have done a really good job with Trugg. And then just looking at his rules that he has here, you can see that he is 16 wounds. He's a 4-up save. He's got a movement of 6 and a leadership of 8. He does have some really cool abilities with his lay stones and stuff like that, but he mainly has, as a weapon, he's got 4 attacks, hitting on freeze, wounding on freeze, -2 with D6, could be quite nasty. And then he's got his big antlers, once again, 2 attacks only this time, but wounding on 2s, hitting on 2s, -2 rend and D3 +3 damage. Once again, potential to be really nasty, but Trugg's not really the combat kind of guy because he does give all your Troggoths a bit of a good wide party buff. So keeping him out of combat, probably, yeah, definitely a good thing. So here I'm just gonna build the kit just in the background. I want to talk about why I really like Trugg. I think from a story point of view, it's not something I've always been that interested in. Poor guy got woken up. He's been asleep for like 500 years. He wakes up to find that someone's strapped this massive magical device on his back. And he just wants to go back to sleep. And he's got goblins just yapping at him. And he's kind of like, oh, God. So he wakes up and he kind of tries to break this thing, but makes it even worse. And there's magic going off all the time. And, you know, the poor guy is a little bit unwittingly, doesn't really know that he's got like the magic of the realms, which not a lot of people can harness. And he's just got this splitting migraine because his magic has like flown through him, and he's a bit like he's grown antlers and stuff like that. And he's a bit like a mystery, but he's a bit oblivious to it all. So here you can see the body. That's how I'm going to leave this section. You can see the club. You can see the seam lines here now. This is going to be a big problem. I think this is a good beginner kit. There's also a section on the side here that I'm just going to point out. It was really difficult to get in. It tells you to glue it in beforehand. But it was an actual nightmare to get in. And once again, seam lines absolutely everywhere. What I'm saying is a good kit for a beginner, but if you're a bit conscious of, you know, having massive seam lines running down your thing, it can take a bit of an expert knowledge to hide these. So although you've got like a really easy to build kit, it's quite difficult to make that kit its full potential. It's just got a lot of issues, if you will. Here I'm building the beard and the head. Once again, this everything went together quite well, apart from like a few little bits that were a little bit, you know, maybe it's just I was a little bit out. I did find there was a little problematic piece on this side that you've kind of got to pop in, which seemed odd that you had to do it that way. I would have put that in first, but anyway. So there's his head and his beard done, and obviously you can see that we've got the little rabble rouser guy just left off. The beard kind of very neatly just pops on there. And then his head kind of just there. Like it all fits really snug. I didn't have a problem with getting it together at all. Once again, the rabble rouser guy, I think that's the rabble rouser guy. He's supposed to sit on the antlers just up here, but you can leave him off. There's no like footprint. He just kind of like glues into place. I think I'm going to leave him off. I just want Trugg to be on his own. So nice little option there. So hey, I guess it is a multi-part kit. Moving on to the Laystone thing, which is obviously the source of his magic power. Once again, like a big Trivial Pursuit piece. It's just made up of all these little sections that just glue around. However, this was where also I did have a bit of a problem. The instructions aren't so clear, and I don't actually believe it. If you had the head and the beard on, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to then put this piece on last. I actually glued it on first and then glued the beard and the head on when I've done my build. And if you're interested, check out the community tab over on my page. I've got lots of pictures, work in progress pictures of Trugg. But here you can see the sub-assemblies. So what you're supposed to have is his beard kind of like just, you know, attached like this, which is fine. It doesn't obscure too much details and you can definitely paint around it. Then you would have his head like that. And then it tells you to put, it just tells you to put this on, but it's a little bit odd because the seam lines don't line up. He actually sits over some of the detail. So it's almost like the Laystone piece it's like oversized. So it's not like it lines up perfectly with the edges. It actually sits over them. So here I really struggled to get the positioning, and you can see, you know, working it out. Once you get it, you get it. You kind of got this little vine just over, and as you see just here, you'll see what I mean, because you really have to just pop it over, and it actually obscures about 4 or 5 mil of his shoulder, but it doesn't line up with the seam line. And then with the beard, all you've got to do you'll see it kind of just here. I think I'm going to point it out. I got to admit, I filmed this video at the beginning of the week and I've been painting Trugg. I've had a lot of fun with it. I kind of forgot what I was going to talk about for some of it, but you can see just here, I do point it out. Good old past me. There's a little kind of like tab there. All you got to do is you just got to like push that bit in first and it almost like locks it into place. And then the head just goes on and that's it. But now let's have a look at the seam lines. So Trugg has some issues and they are pretty big issues to me. They're everywhere. They go down absolutely everything. His arms are made of 2 or 3 pieces each time, same with his feet, and he's got some massive seam lines. Now, if you haven't seen, I have done a video fairly recently, funny enough, on how I do seam lines with like things like Tamiya extra thin cement. Paint it over the seam line. Here I'm using a rounded file because he's got rounded kind of detail, lots of skin texture. So I'd always advise using a rounded file. And what you do is you kind of just file out the seam line. I'll link it in the comments below that video, as it's a really good beginner-friendly way of getting rid of seam lines. It will do some of these, and as you can see here, like, I'm going to paint this bit on, and basically the seam line just disappears. Really easy to do. However, there are some bigger seam lines that we need to worry about. Most notably on this arm here, as you can see, he's got this kind of, it's just a big seam line. So for this, I'm going to use liquid green stuff. Now, this is just liquid green stuff. Mine's gone a little bit hard. I kind of like it this way. I just add a little bit of water to my brush and I can almost like scrape it around the sides, and I always tend to get quite a nice amount. But all I'm going to do, I've got an old brush here, and I'm just going to get a really good bit on my brush just here, and I'm almost just going to like buff it into it. So we're just kind of filling that gap. Because it's a little bit watery, it kind of runs into all the seam lines. You may have to build this up a couple of times. However, you do get a really good finish, as you can see from some of my pictures. This is just one of those models you're just going to have to go back and forth a few times. I'm pretty sure I missed one of them. He's got a lot of seam lines, so if you are going to grab this kit, I would definitely pick up a pot of this as well, because they're just everywhere on him, and they're quite unsightly actually. As you can see here, like all the legs, I've done a combination of the Tamiya method and the liquid green stuff method, which has, you know, it's hidden them really well. And then all I do is I just finish them off with a file in some places, a rounded one again, just to make it, you know, quite seamless. Hey, we waited all that time for a pun like that, seamless. But that's it. I'm going to put Trugg on the spinny thing now. I do apologise if I rambled in this video. Like I said, I filmed this earlier in the week. It was a really good kit though. I like Trugg. I like his story. I like how he's not some big crazy god. The best there is, coming back to kill some other god who's got out of some god's sock drawer. He's just a dude that wants to go back to sleep, and I think we can all appreciate that. He's been woken up, he's got a headache, and there's bright lights because he can only see this magical energy is really annoying him, and he's just going to go and smash them up. And I can really appreciate that. You know, I got kids. Hey, it's the same as, you know, me being woken up. Some days we're all a little Trugg. So there he is. Let me know if you are gonna pick up Trugg, have picked up Trugg, if you know how you felt about the problems, how you solved them. As you can see here, I've given him a little bit of blast of grey spray, and there are hardly any seam lines on him. So with a little bit of work, I say a little bit, quite a lot, you can get him looking fantastic. But that's it from me in this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care.